What if I told you there's 50 words your child will no longer see New York City words that will no longer be taught in an educational book because they're not going to be on a test. Now, the key phrase of the sentence says 50 words banned from school tests. Well, if it's not going to be tested on, it's not going to be in the book. Well, guess what? I have all 50 words.
Now, they're trying. This hasn't passed, so they're just attempting to pass this. And let's pray to God they don't, because they want to take out words such as slavery out of school. Not even teach about slavery like it never existed. The birthday. You're not even allowed to say birthday.
I have all of the 50 words.
Yeah, it's insane.
This is monumental moment for JMC Live tonight as I share with you on air. And yes, I am going to go over the 1 hour limit because I'm not limited to how long I have to do this program. You have to see for yourselves and hear for yourselves the 50 word limit. Now, I don't know if I'm going to read them all myself or we're going to split it between Miranda. It depends on how long I can read these words and how much this glass of water is going to actually go through me.
Well,
like I said,
if you get tired, I'll take over.
Like I said, the links are going to be posted in our YouTube videos and podcast. These are 50 words. We did something like this with 100 words the other day. It was a show a couple of years ago. I read all of the political government connected words that were found in something else. But anyway, without further ado, I'm taking a drink of water.
50 words that are possibly going to be banned from the New York City schools.
Here we go. I feel like David Letterman. Oh, oops, I said somebody's name.
The top 50.
The top 50 word list that you can no longer say in America. Yeah, it's quite creepy.
No, in New York City schools.
New York City schools. Here it is. And for those of you who want to follow along in the chat, I'm going to try and give you a link. And like I said, this podcast, it's going to be listed below, and we'll have a title of it, 50 words banned. But without further ado, this is the 50 words banned from a school.
Okay. Get on with it.
Abuse. Now, this is saying specifically physical, sexual, emotional, and psychological abuse. So any stories that have anything to do with this, positive or negative, you'll no longer hear about. Alcohol, beer, liquor, tobacco, or drugs. So much for the Red Ribbon Campaign, which is promoting an anti-drug, beer, alcohol, ATF, so on and so forth.
What about DARE?
DARE. You can't talk about that anymore. MAD. Your mother against MAD driving. You can't talk about that anymore. Birthdays. Your child will no longer be allowed to celebrate a birthday in school. Why? Because Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate them. Bodily functions. You cannot say FART or POOP anymore. And side note, we would go to the office to get spankings as children saying those words, but I'm not getting it. You can't even talk about the bodily functions. Well, you can't even mention it in an educational class such as science. Cancer and other diseases. That just blows my mind. You live in New York. Well, you can't talk about a catastrophe or disaster anymore, like a tsunami or hurricane. Hurricane Katrina will not be talked about in New York City. What the Coast Guard did and what happened in the rest of the country, we won't be able to do it. Celebrities. Famous people, if you made a difference in the world, it doesn't matter. Can't talk about it. Children with serious issues. You can't talk about serious issues anymore. Cigarettes. Computers in the home. Well, not everyone has a computer in the home because you're poor. Any form of crime. You can't talk about crime anymore. Death and disease. Divorce. Evolution. You can't talk about evolution because it's wrong. I agree on not being able to talk about evolution, but they're not even going to talk about creationism either. That's the interesting thing in here. Expensive gifts. Vacations and prizes. Can't talk about that anymore. Why? Because they want to spread the wealth. Why? They want to spread the wealth so thin that you can't afford a vacation, an expensive gift, or a prize.
Or it might offend somebody who's not...
Gambling involving money. When you go and buy a lotto ticket, it's not going to be considered gambling anymore. It's just going to be considered a cool thing to do. Oh, it's a cool thing to do. Look at this. We got more full screen Halloween Now we do shows about Halloween, how it's a paganistic holiday, and how All Hallows Eve is the Christian format. Guess what? You can't talk about either of them. Why? Because it'll offend the Wiccans.
No, it might.
That's what it says right here, offend Wiccans. Homelessness. I've been homeless. Guess what? I can't go to New York City and tell about my story about how I survived as a homeless person.
So I guess
the Salvation Army can't come to your school anymore and talk about how they need money. If you're going to ring a bell in New York City and anywhere near the school, you can't tell you're feeding the homeless anymore. Why? Because they're not allowed to talk about that. This won't be in an exam. Homes with swimming pools. Why? Because not everyone has a swimming pool in their home. Hunting. Junk food. In-depth sports of knowledge. In-depth discussions of sports that require special knowledge. Nuclear weapons. Occult topics. Parapsychology, politics. You can't learn about the origins of politics anymore. Poverty, pornography. You can't learn about how children and young adults need to be protected from pornography and sex trafficking, because if you don't sit here and do the proper steps of getting your thumbprint and everything, you can be sold in the sex trade. Well, they won't let you talk about any form of it, positive or negative. Rap music. You're not allowed to talk about rap music because apparently listening to any form of rap music is considered racist. Religion. You can't talk about any religion. I don't care if you're an atheist or you're a Pentecostal, you're a Christian, whatever. They won't let you do that anymore. Religious holidays. Christmas, Yom Kippur, Ramadan. It does not matter what you are. No more holidays. They're going to, what's going to happen is when, and there's a college that's already recognized this, there's no more religious holidays. They're making them go to school on the 24th and 25th of December.
And that's communism.
See, this is what communism does. It removes all forms of any kind of religious entity because they want to wipe it completely clean off the map. Because they
want the people to worship communism and worship the government.
Yes, the government is your new god. Rock and roll music, running away, sex, slavery, terrorism, TV and video games, excessive use, traumatic material, upsetting such as animal shelters. Animal shelters, I think that one's weird.
Animal shelters?
Yes, you can't talk about rats and roaches, witchcraft, vermin, violence. I'm not making this stuff up. War and bloodshed, weapons, guns, and knives. Well, there you go. They want to tell you can't talk about guns. Well, if you can't talk about guns, you can't learn about what your laws are to have a gun, much less what you want to do. See, what happens is you think we have this 1% spread the wealth liberal thing going on. When you become progressive, you think this 1% is bad. When you go to a progressive, socialist, communist type scenario, all these people that you guys are so adamantly saying you want nothing to do with, they're the ones that are going to completely run your lives. Mm-hmm. If you're the CEO of a business, the government practically almost owns your business. You're still going to make almost the same amount of the money. Why? Because you get to make more money, but you cannot not make any less money, and you can't earn any extra money. This is in America, New York City, one of the it's considered, which this is a phrase you don't hear anymore, the Big Apple.